a biblical perspective on life, culture and current events. This is 2020 on Vision.
From the recent firebombing of the Adass Israel synagogue to vandalism and arson targeting Jewish homes, schools and businesses, these recent violent acts have shaken our Australian Jewish community and been an affront to the Australian values of tolerance and unity. The Australian Federal Police are currently investigating over 100 incidents with some linked to organised crime, underscoring the complexity of this crisis. As a nation, we stand against the terrorising of any groups in our community, and today Israeli Ambassador to Australia, His Excellency Amir Maimon, joins us to share his perspective on these events, the impact they've had on Australia's Jewish community, and the path forward to foster peace and security for all. Welcome to 2020, Ambassador Amir Maimon.
Thank you for having me for the second time in your program, and I think that your listeners know me as Amir, so I will appreciate very much if you can, put aside the titles and talk to me as Amir.
Yes, sir. Yes, Amir. It's great to have you with us today, sharing your thoughts on behalf of the Embassy. Now, going to recent breaking news, this morning we've heard from the Albanese government that an announcement has been made about a national plan to combat anti-Semitism. What can you tell us about this plan, sir?
Well, first and foremost, it's an Australian plan which was tabled and introduced yesterday by the Special Envoy to Combat Anti-Semitism, Julian Siegel, and it is, under review of the government, and they need, of course, to approve her recommendation. What I can say is that since 2023, since October the 7th, 2023, this horrific day, and until September 2024, anti-Semitic incidents surged by 316%, with over 2,000 cases reported, threats, assaults, vandalism, and intimidation. In October and November 2023 alone, episodes increased over 700% compared to the previous year, reflecting incitement by those with extremist views and misinformation in the media and online. I think that the figure speaks for themselves, and it led the government to appoint Ms. Siegel, that after a year, she completed her study, she completed her plan to combat anti-Semitism, and it was introduced yesterday. Now it's the time to make sure that her recommendations will be realized. Now it's the time to make sure that anti-Semitism will be uprooted. Now it is important to bring the Australian of Jewish faith to feel safe in their homeland.
I mean, those statistics, they're exponential. They sound like a real surge. It's quite a change from normalcy of what had been here in Australia before the invasion over there in Israel. We saw with the Adass synagogue being bombed and so many other incidences, even more overnight, more stories coming through. How has the Jewish community in Australia been impacted by this?
Well, first and foremost, it's important to remember that anti-Semitism did not start on October the 7th. Anti-Semitism was here in Australia before the establishment of the State of Israel, before Second World War. And you probably know that anti-Semitism is one of the oldest phenomena. Just to give you some examples, Jewish people were deported from England in 1290, from France in 1310, from Spain in 1492. And unfortunately, synagogues here in Australia were attacked already in 1993. The synagogue in Sydney, in Newtown, was arson attack in 1993. Years before the attack on Adass Israel, which happened December the 6th of last year, and last week the arson attack attempt on Eastern Melbourne Synagogue. So this is something that need to be remembered. Now, I'm not representing the Jewish community. I'm representing the state of Israel. It's very important to also remember that when we talk about the Jewish community, we talk about your fellow Australians. We're not talking about foreigners that decided one day to move and live here in Australia. We are talking about Australians. And in many cases, we're talking about born Australians. And you can imagine that for them to wake up one morning and to realize that they're not as welcome as they thought that they might be, this is very, very sad. And on top of everything, the feeling that they do not feel secure, or the reality where they do not feel secure in their own homeland, is something that is beyond my understanding. Let's take Australian students of Jewish faith. Did you know that in every Australian university, there is a dedicated building? That's the very nice way to put it. But in reality, it's a kind of a safe building where Jewish students, Australian students of Jewish origin, will be able to study in a more secure atmosphere. This is insane. This is something that should not be accepted.
As we stated in the intro, we don't want to accept or be sponsoring or believing in any kind of extremism or terrorising of any sector of the Australian society. It's a shame that this has risen under such a cloak. It doesn't that comment that you've just made there doesn't really make its way out into mainstream media. Why do you feel that might be?
Well, I think that my voice is heard, but I'm only one voice. And in the beginning, right after October the 7th, there were the ones who were trying to make the linkage between the war in Gaza and the unrest here in Australia. And my message to them was that they're not only wrong, but they're also misleading. Yesterday, Prime Minister Albanese was very clear. He said anti-Semitism did not start on October the 7th. And by the way, the Israeli, and I did mention it and I did emphasize in my previous response, that the root cause to what we see here is not the Israeli-Palestinian conflict, nor the war in Gaza. It's pure anti-Semitism. And that's why it is very important to make sure that it will be marginalized. I am doubtful if it will be possible to totally eliminate it, but I think that it's very important to marginalize it.
Amir, you mentioned earlier those statistics that have grown in the last couple of years exponentially. Do you see the change in attitudes towards our Aussies who are of Jewish extraction? Do you see that as something that's domestically grown, or do you see that as part of something international or global?
Well, I can speak about Australia, and I can tell you that in comparison to other places, the numbers here are skyrocketing, mainly also because before, and even though there were a number of anti-Semitic incidents, by the way, in 2023, even before October the 7th, the Zionist Federation, in cooperation with the Deakin University and the Yad Vashem Holocaust Memorial Museum, they conducted a survey in which they found out that there was an increase by 35% in the number of anti-Semitic incidents in the campuses. So I think that Australia is not only catching up with the average in other places, but also starting to lead the number of anti-Semitic incidents.
What an indictment. I mean, that's a really shocking statistic. I did not know of that until hearing it right now. Could you tell us, Amir, how can faith-based communities around Australia contribute to calm and understanding in this time?
Well, I think that the most important thing is to understand, as I said before, that when we talk about the Australians of Jewish community, we're talking about your own people, you're talking about your mates. And regardless faiths, beliefs, ideologies, political views, it's very important to make sure that all Australians will follow the Australians' values. Now, I'm not representing Australia, But for me, when I see what is going on here, it makes me really sad. It makes me sad because, as I said before, it has nothing to do what we see here when it comes to protests, when it comes to vandalism, when it comes to attacks on synagogues. At least for me, it has nothing to do with the conflict. It has more to do with the values that you expect Australians to follow once they chose Australia as their homeland. It's your home. Remember, a few months ago, I was invited to one of these Dream Day matches in the MCG, right, where I was surrounded by 80,000 fans watching Essendon beating the Tigers. And you know what crossed my mind? The fact that I was surrounded by 80,000 fans, orange and cheering two different teams, and yet sitting together.
Yeah.
You know, in Europe, there is full separation between the two groups of fans. Sometimes it takes hours before one group of fans can leave the stadium. And here, you sit together, enjoying the game. So if you can have it there, why can't you have it elsewhere?
So true. Our Australian culture has been built on mateship. It's been built on inclusivity. It's been built on having a fair go. And hearing the rise of this in our nation in just the recent time is quite shocking. Now, with some attacks linked to organised crime rather than ideology, how would you, not as a representative of the Australian Jewish community, but as a representative of the State of Israel, how would you say to our audience that we could approach the situation to find a balance between addressing criminal behaviour and fostering community healing?
Well, I think that if your community and your listeners can reach out to their neighbor, whether he's a Jew or of a different faith, embrace, hug. I'm a hugger. I believe that we should all follow the very well-known commandment of love your neighbor, love your friend as much as you love yourself. This is what we are all in need for, a bit of love and a bit of respect to the other, to the one that is maybe a bit different. And I don't think that it will be right to suggest that, well, this is not the Australian way, this is the organized crime, or this is some extremist. I think that you all bear the responsibility, and it's very important to make sure that the community, and for the sake of our discussion, we're talking about the Australians of Jewish community, will feel wanted, will feel loved, will feel that it's not just about them, that this kind of behavior is not accepted by the ones that are not part of the Jewish community.
Amir, as we wrap this interview up right now, the scriptures which we are very beloved to, as well as yourself, in Psalm 122, tell us to pray for the peace of Jerusalem. We are a praying community here, the Vision family, not just here in Australia, but around the world right now. What would be a couple of points that you could give to our family here to talk about how we can be praying for the Jewish plight around the world right now?
Well, I think that today it's the eve of Saturday, the eve of the Jewish Shabbat, the day of rest. And every Saturday, the Jewish people in their synagogues, they are praying for, here in Australia, they're praying for Australia, but they're also praying for Israel. I think that it's very important, and some of your listeners know my views about it, that while I do value and appreciate the prayers, it's also very important to praise and promote Israel. Israel is not just about the conflict. Israel is not just about the war against Iran, the evil forces of Iran. Israel is about innovation. Israel is about the Jerusalem. Israel is about love. And I think that this is something that, for me, is very important, to bring as many Australians as possible to better understand what Israel is all about. I really feel sad that for many Australians, when they hear the name of Israel, the immediate association is with the conflict and with war and security-related issues. So I would urge people to promote and to bless and to pray and to come and visit Israel, because Israel, even though a very small country, only 1/3 of Tasmania, is a beautiful, beautiful place to visit.
Israeli ambassador to Australia, Amir, Maimon, thank you so much for joining us today on 2020.
Shabbat Shalom, and thank you for having me.
Thanks for taking time to listen to this audio on demand from Vision Christian Media. To find out more about us, go to vision.org.au.